All right, guys, welcome back in Bear Down. And yes, we are already doing Bears side-by-side mock draft 2.0. It's that time of year, but more importantly, I listen to you guys, I interact with you guys, and I do like to hear what your guys' thoughts are. So this is going to be called a more fair analysis one. We're going to make a few changes to it, and I think you're going to like it. We're going to go through it a little bit quicker than last time. We don't need as much explanation because you guys get the gist of what's going on here. We're going to trade Justin Fields in Scenario 1. We're going to keep Justin Fields in Scenario 2. But this time in Scenario 3, we're going to keep Justin Fields, but we're going to trade up and down. We're going to, trade down first and then trade up. All right? So in the first one, you can pause this if you like. It's the same scenario as before. The Bears are going to get a first swap with Washington, 2 seconds, and a future second instead of a second and a first. All right? So we're looking for value this year, and we're not going to take as much from Washington next year. It rounds out, the math adds up. And number 2, the Bears are going to take a trade with Atlanta, and this time, because you guys said, no, that's a little bit too much to get Kyle Pitts and 2 firsts, we're going to take a first and a second in Kyle Pitts. We're going to make it as fair as we possibly can on these analyses. We're going to try to be fair every way. And I'm going to tell you right now on this one, I did try a little bit harder to be as unbiased and as fair to try to make Scenario 1 be exactly how I would make it work if I had to have that work. Number 2 to be the same way, and number 3 to be the same way, because I did try the first time, but a couple of your guys' comments resonated with me, and you'll see some of those changes in here. All right? So in the third scenario on this one, we're going to trade up. After trading down to 8, the key problem there is you're losing out on your 3 top-tier wide receivers. There's 3 wide receivers in this class that are obviously number ones in any other year. This is a heavily loaded wide receiver class. Marvin Harrison Jr., who is just generational. We'll call him generational, but he is. He really is. And then there's Malik Neighbors and there's Rome Odunze. All 3 of them should go in the top 6 or 7 picks. So we're going to trade back up. Los Angeles Chargers need some draft capital. Now, this may not happen because they're having some reform. They're having some new heads come in. They need some value and they need some needs too. But just like Ryan Poles, sometimes the best thing you can do when you come in is to get value and get some stuff back. And we're going to have to overpay a little bit to go from 8 to 5. We're going to give them our 3rd round pick, and we're going to give them next year's 2nd round pick to trade up 3 spots. And the math does add up on that as a little bit of an overpay, but we have to do that to be able to get value. So in the first 2, we're going to have 8 more picks. In this 3rd one, we're only going to have 7 now because we had to give one away, but we did get Kyle Pitts. So let's move on with the draft. We'll go through a little quicker this time. There's our scenario. I'm actually not going to change this too much because there's some things I want to go over later on in videos of some value signings I see, but we're going to stick with Jalen Johnson, Connor Williams, Xavier McKinney, Curtis Samuel, and that's going to be across the board, except on the last one, we don't get Curtis Samuel, we get Kyle Pitts, so there is a little bit of weakness there in that one, but we do have a lot more cap space we can do stuff after the draft with, so we can get a value signing later on if we need to. All right, we're going to move on. Now this time, instead of picking up a tackle, Olufashanu, which is not nearly as important a need, we're going to trade back up and we're going to get Rome Odunze in the 1st round, 5th overall pick, and option number 3. So I do like this one more already. First one, we're getting Caleb Williams. Middle one, we're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. 3rd one, we're getting Rome Odunze. All right, moving to the next one. We're going to pick Leatu Latu, defensive end out of UCLA, with all 3 of these. And then in the middle option, because we got this extra 2nd round pick from Washington, we're going to pick Patrick Paul, offensive tackle out of Houston. The swing tackle is an extremely important part of what we're missing right now. We don't have depth there. To bring someone in to compete with Braxton Jones is phenomenal too. That way we have 3 solid tackles. Patrick Paul is a great prospect. So I'm not going to go over these guys as much this time, but look into these guys. Patrick Paul is someone you guys are going to like as you look more into him, especially when you guys see him play in the Reese's Bowl. All right. We go on to our next picks. We haven't got a wide receiver yet. We need one. Devontae Walker is the best one available at 40. 2nd round with the pick we got for Justin Fields. Oh, I didn't mention that as either. A lot of you said, well, we can probably extract a 2nd and a 3rd. So I gave extreme value on the trade to Fields. I'm giving a 2nd and a 3rd round pick for them to trade for him. So he's getting a 2nd and 3rd round pick. All right, so Devontae Walker, wide receiver out of North Carolina. A lot of upside there, just not quite as high caliber, obviously, as Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze. And with the other 2, we're taking a center, Jackson Powers-Johnson, who to me is the clear standout number 1 center. He's going to be a star, in my opinion. And he is taking it the 40th and 41st overall pick there. All right, we move on to our next picks. And with this one, all three of them are taking Zach Zinter in the 3rd round. And because we have an extra pick for trading Justin Fields, they're then in that one going to pick up Cedric Von Prawn, center out of Georgia. I spelled Georgia wrong. My bad. But either way, you guys know what's going on here. Cedric Von Prawn fell way down my board this year. He did not have a stellar year, but he's got a lot of potential. He's got all the measurables you want out of a center, and I think we can work with him and get that back. He's not as nearly as good a prospect as Jackson Powers Johnson, but he's still a good center for us to bring in. All right, compensation pick for Ian Cunningham's. We're going to get $3.99. We're going to get Darius Robinson, stout up that defensive line. And in the 4th round now, we're going to go a little different direction in the option 3 because we already got Kyle Pitts. We're going to take Dominic Pooney as a backup tackle, as a swing tackle out of Kansas. We're going to do the same thing in option 1. In option 2, we're going to take tight end Jaheim Bell. All right, and in the 4th round, we've already got Caleb Williams. We're not going to take another rookie right now. We're going to take Brevin Spann-Ford, tight end out of Minnesota. And we're going to take Joe Milton III as a quality backup prospect to bring in to do as many other teams do, is develop quarterbacks in later rounds. And this one's a fun one. Kerry Joseph is going to be working with him in the Senior Bowl. Joe Milton is someone that you guys have seen me take in several of my mock drafts. I love his cannon for an arm. I love his measurables. He does have a lot of flaws and weaknesses, but I think it would be fun to have Kerry Joseph get his first opportunity working with a rookie while they're working to improve Justin Fields as well. This to me would be a fun draft pick. That's why I took this one. All right, in the 5th round, we aren't just putting a generic. We're going to take Ray Davis. I don't have a huge affiliation or preference for any running back at this point. We just need some depth, and it's important to keep drafting these guys, bring them in and rotate, and get some depth in the running back room. So this is a pick that I picked there. Okay, so here is our side-by-side, what everybody wants to see on this. Here's the strengths and weaknesses. Tyson Bagent just gets a light pink because you just don't have the competition coming in. Joe Milton isn't necessarily a huge strength, but it is a strength for the Bears to have young talent that we bring in to try to develop. And we don't have that with option 1. We have Caleb Williams, and there's no green or red between him and Justin Fields at this point because they're the exact same type of quarterback. I know that we've discussed this. You guys don't have to agree with that, but this is what I'm doing on this one. The next difference you see, Ray Davis is the same on all of them, so there's no red or green. The next difference you see is Devontae Walker is a weaker prospect than Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze. This time, option 3 now gets a light green color, though, because Rome Odunze is a clear number 1 wide receiver. He's an X receiver. He is a beast. You're talking about Calvin Johnson as opposed to Devontae Adams type of players. So Rome Odunze is still a very big strength. I'd be very happy if we end up with a consolation prize of Rome Odunze instead of getting Marvin Harrison Jr. All right, I still put Curtis Samuel on the 3rd one. That should actually be the light red on the 3rd one, Curtis Samuel, because we don't sign him because we got Kyle Pitts. We couldn't afford to sign Curtis Samuel. So my bad on that one, guys. Tyler Scott, Bayless Jr., all the same. On this one, Brevin Spann-Ford is a weaker prospect than Jaheim Bell and not as good as Kyle Pitts, who's proven. So Kyle Pitts gets the dark green, light green in the middle one, and light red on the far left one. Dominic Pooney is the same on both. That's a green. That's an upgrade offensive tackle, but Patrick Paul is the clear front runner there. He could beat Braxton Jones out easily for that left tackle position. And on the last one down, Cedric Von Prawn is still a very light green color. He's still a solid center to bring in, but Jackson Powers Johnson is a clear and obvious number 1 center in the league. So that's where we stack up with strengths and weaknesses it does in drafting each of these options. But more importantly, what do we have for the future as well? We're doing for the now and the future. Defense didn't change. All right, so in these now, in the middle option, we just get an extra second from the Commanders, so no huge difference there. But in the last one, now we're trading away our own 2025 second-round picks. We've gained an extra second, but more importantly, we have a first-rounder next year. So that's where everything stacks up when all is said and done. All right, let me know your thoughts on what you think of Bears side-by-side mock draft 2.0. This is a more fair analysis in my point, and with where things stand now, I would still be leaning very heavily to 2 and 3. If we had more assurance that Caleb Williams is definitely Pat Mahomes and not Kyler Murray, I would consider 1, but right now I don't even consider number 1. I don't. Option 2 or 3 looks a lot cleaner to me and looks a lot more high upside this year and in the future. But what would I pick between 2 and 3? Probably still 2, because I love Marvin Harrison Jr. and what he can really bring to this team. That would be neat for me to witness, and I really think that would be a lot of fun. But with that trade down and trade back up and still getting a first next year, I'm very open to getting Rome Odunze if we could pull that off. So it's all in the hands of King Poles. Let's see what he can pull off. But here is Bears Side-by-Side Mock Draft 2.0. Hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button, subscribe. Until next time, bear down.